pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sam, is this? Yeah. Is this on? Okay. So good evening, board members, and Reed, you were on Zoom tonight. We're glad you're with us. Also to the public, if you're watching YouTube tonight or in the future, we welcome you to the meeting. Remember, you can chat in comments along the way. You won't be able to see us tonight because we're still having some technology issues, so we have decided to keep the Zoom limited to one device tonight so that we don't get the feedback issues we had at the last meeting. And we are in the process of getting an estimate or some quotes on technology that we need to upgrade with. So please bear with us. Appreciate your patience and your understanding. So first tonight, we don't have anyone to take the floor with a concern, so we'll go to the clerk's report.
I have a resolution to accept the meeting minutes from our April 19th meeting.
A motion to accept the minutes from April 19th. A motion by Michelle,
I'll second.
second by Carol. Are there any comments or concerns regarding the minutes of April 19th? If none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None.
And I have a resolution to accept the payment of bills, abstract number 23.
A motion by Mike, second by Bob. Any comments, concerns, questions on the abstract? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Pam. So tonight, John Turner, our DPW director, is not able to be in attendance, but he has left me
I don't know if you can hear me. I lost the sound 2 minutes ago after Gary started talking about what JT had spoken about. The sound was pretty good, and I have no sound now.
Reed, were you saying something?
Carol, those are the first words I've heard in about 3 minutes. Yeah, all I was saying is I lost sound. The sound was pretty good, and I completely lost it. I can't hear Gary.
I hear you.
Can't hear me at all?
Oh, now I can. I lost you mid-sentence when you were saying you had spoken with JT and then it was gone for the last 3 minutes.
Okay. I will back up and we'll go from where I left off with you. So what I was doing is going over a project update from John Turner because he can't be here with us tonight. Projects that have been completed, the large trash, trees that were planted for the tree board at their recommendation, ash trees removed from Municipal Park, a water leak in Mead Square Park repaired, sidewalks in the north parking lot completed near Town Hall, started drainage replacement on Woodworth Street, and now Moore Avenue will be starting this week. They will be milling the existing surface on May 10th. I assume that is kind of subject to weather as well, but that's the target date. Issues with town fueling station. So there must be some problems with the town's fueling station that we purchase our fuel from and fuel our vehicles at. So temporarily there will be fueling at the Farmington Highway Department. I haven't talked with John to find out what the issue is. So I'm going to move on now to trustee reports. Anybody have anything? Michelle?
I had, so I attended the library meeting last Tuesday in April. They are basically moving fast and furious on building a new library. Still no location for public knowledge or even my knowledge. But they are going to start having 2 meetings a month now. So I'll be going on, I think, the second Wednesday of the month and then the last Tuesday of the month. Because there's so much work to be done with the new library project. And sadly, I did not make the Arbor Day event due to a family conflict. I did this. You love that.
Thank you.
And then do you want me to grab the power letter?
That would be great.
Okay. So as we all know, we have partnered with Source Power, and it came to light that residents of the village were getting, we'll say, somewhat harassing phone calls in hopes of having them sign up for the community solar piece. It was unbeknownst to us that these phone calls were going to be starting or even taking place for that matter. So I had several conversations with Rockford City, found out that we were not alone in this, but that other neighboring communities who are also working with Source Power were getting the same kind of, unsigned phone calls, if you will. So what we did, I was told to do on behalf of the board was to write a letter to Source Power on village stationery and basically say cease and desist until we tell you we can start up again. But before they can start the call, we want to be aware of what the calls are going to sound like, what's the messaging, and I put in that you can see from the letter that we want it 4 weeks out, so we want at least a month of silence, no phone calls. If we get wind that phone calls were made in that 4 week time, then the 4 week clock starts again. So we felt that what I had written and what I asked for on behalf of our board was good, and kind of go with the phone. But in light of this happening, I think it's going to behoove me to kind of stay on this. And if we can, like, I'd even like to get involved with the message, because I have a feeling that it's very aggressive. I want to say forceful, and that's not the way we want this message to come across. We would rather it be educational, informative, but not, harassing you. So I can kind of help soften that and have it be more to what we want it to be represented to our residents. And that's
Thank you, Michelle, for taking it on. It's an important issue.
Right.
And it's interesting to hear that other communities are going through the same thing. So it's not just a one-time thing here in Victory. And I believe that the contract that we have through Jewel Associates, our administrator, and Source Power in the village, pretty clearly states that communication is supposed to come through the village of Victor first before it goes out, so that we can do exactly what you're going to do, is to try and buffer it and keep it under control, so that the message is the kind of message we want our residents to see and hear. I appreciate that.
Can I ask? Sure. Why would we ever want our residents to get phone calls?
So the only thing, so there's two sides to that. So on one hand, you could say, right, we don't want them to have phone calls, but there's the piece of that we would like more people to come into the community solar piece. So then that question becomes, okay, if you remove the phone calls from village constituents, who's going to take the charge of getting the word out, getting the messaging out to try to encourage more residents to come into the village? So it's either do we do the work, or do we let Source Power, who's our partner, do the work?
I don't know if I agree with either choice. I mean, see, the thing is, they won't qualify for a do not call list because we do business with them. So it's going to open up every resident to be called.
Well, if it ends up,
I certainly never sat through anything where I've heard every resident would be called to buy something else.
I don't know if every resident's been called, but
Well, they're not going to stop. They're not. You know.
well, I would say that we'll see what the result of this letter is with Source Power, what their response is, and we go from there. I mean, I hear your point, and perhaps if they're not gonna, go along with the contract we have, we're gonna maybe have to do something about that.
Or, we can, there's nothing saying that we can't stop the calls. But then, like I said, it's gonna put the work on us to try to encourage people to sign up for solar, but there are ways to do that. I mean, that was the intent pre-COVID. We were gonna have workshops, we were gonna have public meetings, things of that nature to kind of educate people within the village, to maybe sign up for the CCA. Well, that's already done deal, but, to come in and sign up for solar. So could we take that on? We could. And they,
I'll be real interested to hear their response to the letter.
yeah, and I know that Electricity shared with me that they were encouraging Brighton to send letters like what, similar to what I had written. Canandaigua, I believe, was writing one to stop the phone calls, and who's the other one? There were three of them. But I can't remember the other one. So it's not just our residents that we're experiencing. The other thing too, not that it's gonna matter, but then, the other question too is, I'd like information. So is it someone actually from Source Power working the phone? Is it someone that's in a call center that's manning the phones? That's two different things potentially. The call center is just all about dials. It's not about, being consultative. It's not being about informative. It's just making the dials and burning and churning your numbers. You know, so a call center, not that call centers aren't good, but it has a different feel than if it was a different representative. You know, making the call. So there's work to be done. I can take the lead on this. I'm gonna dig in and see. How can it be done? Can it be done right? Can it be done, you know, with concern and respect to those residents and not being harassed? You know, and I think bring those, you know, those outcomes or what I find out back to the board and we discuss what the next steps are. To your point, like they probably don't register for doing that.
So, Michelle,
Yeah.
the letter went out, and the letter went out on the 20,
About right.
on the 30th.
It went back to the source power. Electricity.
Okay, so it's just getting probably to source power now.
Right.
So I just ask you to just stay on top of it and look for a response from source power. And if we haven't gotten one, then please contact them and see where they're at with it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, any other trustee reports, Bob or Carol? Anything?
I was supposed to have a meeting with Kathy Rayburn last week. We had to reschedule, but we're working on the revitalization. She had a conversation with Victor Dadris, who wrote our plan for us. And he is going to do a conference call with us to help us get the plan moving again. So hopefully that will happen soon.
That's good. Anything else, Carol?
No, that's it.
Bob?
The planning board met last Wednesday. There was a application for site plan modification from Mitchell Design Builder on behalf of Van Bortle Motors, and looking at really fixing up the old Corvette, Turner Corvette, and now for a number of years, a Van Bortle building. Everybody on the planning board was impressed with the fact that, I mean, it's a very nice investment in the village, and putting in, fixing up the building and making it look very nice. So there was, I think the only public concern was from some neighbors that had a fence along, and at the end, I thought they were trying to work something out. And Kitty was present and made an offer to put up a new fence for them, or do whatever would make the property look better for both of them. So I thought it's a good proposal all the way around. And the only other report I got is just a follow-up on the library. I did talk with Tim, and I think they're quite a ways along in selecting a possible site, and they don't want to make it public until they've had the library vote for their current budget. It gets very confusing for people if they start proposing, they've got a site and then they're voting right away on it. So they want to get the current vote behind them, and then I think they're going to make it public, and we can all say where it is.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bob. And the vote is May 18th, right?
That sounds right.
Along with the school budget vote.
Oh, and then can I add to that? Sorry. They are also hosting kind of at like an FAQ, there's like FAQ calls. There's been a lot of chatter on social media about the proposed library tax and what that represents to taxpayers across the village and town. So I know they're posting Zoom meetings that you can come in and ask questions, and Tim is presenting, so they want to make sure that, you know, the public is aware that that option is out there if you want to get educated with the right facts and figures behind what the library is doing. So I didn't find that very
Thank you for adding it.
Mhm.
Mike, anything?
Nothing anybody else hasn't already touched base on, but I think we gotta do something about these houses on West Main Street.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one house sold, right? So residents bought the house closest to where we sit right now. So the 4-house project is now likely a 2 or 3 house project. And the 2 houses that are owned by the same person are deteriorating quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's got signs up there to sell, and I respect that, but I don't know how long we look at the 2 houses in a state of disarray while he's looking for a buyer.
Yeah.
Okay, something, the last, workshop that the revitalization group had, we did discuss that, and, John Turner was gonna, talk with our code enforcement and also Sean McAdoo to help them with some guidance. to move on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we may have dropped the ball on it a little when we got excited that, you know, a real project was going in there, but it's been considerable time. You know, that project's dead. You know, Carol's actively working on bringing a new project. I met with Kathy about a new project. So, again, I'm not trying to spend the guy's money, but, you know, we gotta move one direction or the other. You know,
Yeah, we've been very patient, and tolerant.
Yes.
Anything else, Mike?
Just that I worked with Pam and Diane a little bit on, Pam's getting quotes for this room. Diane thinks she can find the money in the budget so we can weigh ourselves up. We wanna broadcast, you know, for the near future, or the future, or the further future. So,
That's good. Good news. Okay. Give me 1 second. So first under my report tonight is the village street connectivity plan, and I believe you have some paperwork. Regarding that plan, and it's about the scope of work for the plan. So this is basically Genesee Transportation Council is been hired by the town to send out an RFP for this street connectivity and access plan. And what it basically is an extension of the access management plan, and in my opinion, the Route 96 infrastructure study plan. So in both of those plans, there are elements dealing in particular with that 96 corridor and things that aren't too far north or south, east or west of it. And in the current plans, there are drawings, there's data, there's all this stuff, but the connectivity and access plan, the concept is to take it to the next level so that there are actual concept drawings and actual cost estimates for things identified through these other plans that we want to do, both that would affect the village and the town. So that's what the basic premise is. The town has done this project, hired them. So if you go to the last page of what you have, as sources of funds, it shows you it's basically an $85,000 project. And the matching funds are $4,000 that the town is covering. The rest, I believe, is through a grant that the town secured for this project. So to back up a little bit, I got a call from Joe Bavenzi, who is the gentleman assigned with the RFP, and he wanted to have some village input. So we talked about the scope of what he was doing and so forth. And I don't think you have this, but this is an updated version of the scope of work. And I apologize, I guess I didn't get this to Pam. Task 5 in the RFP, or in the scope of work, in front of me says draft alternatives development. So this is the section of this plan where it's based on inventory findings and needs assessment results and steering committee input. And there's things that they're going to ask the consultant to do. And one of the things that I spent a great amount of time talking to Joe Bavenzi about is in the next paragraph. And I apologize if you don't have this. It says respondents, this is to the RFP, shall describe how they will engage stakeholders to understand their concerns and needs on their facilities. Please describe how the design concept of the proposed local street along the Ontario Central Railroad presented in the Route 96 Transformative Corridor Strategic Infrastructure Plan and the Victor Access Management Plan will be addressed in this plan. So I wanted to make it clear to Joe that, and Jack Marin agrees, that that's still the number one priority that came out of the infrastructure 96 study. And probably the most impactful priority for the village, definitely, and for the town as well. So Joe added that to the scope of work after you got this document, I think. Just wanted you to know that that was in there, and they will be taking a good look at that, along with several other intersections. And for instance, on the east end of town, also coming out of the 96 plan was a connection of Delray Drive and Collette Road to take traffic off of McMahon Road, because the connection of the other two roads would lead you to Hortensia, where there's a light, rather than coming up McMahon Road and you want to turn left to go towards Tops or Van Bortles, and it's a heck of a time trying to get left out onto 96. So they're going to take a look at things like that. And then up on the west end of town, I remember a connection also proposed for Willowbrook and Omnitech Drive, just this side of the Quickfield gas station. And then there's several other areas they will obviously look at as well. So that's just a basic explanation of the plan and the input that I gave them. If somebody else thinks of something, it might be a little late because the RFP is probably going out this week. But if you think of anything that you feel should be discussed or looked at, I could put that bug in Joe Bavenzi's ear. So
Will we have a representative on the steering committee?
most likely we will.
They said they wanted one.
So this is gonna cost $85,000 and somebody has to pay $4.
The town.
The town's paying $4?
Yeah.
And including it, us in on.
No cost to us.
And I want you to know that I said to Joe and John Turner brought this up in his comments, which Joe got, John's comments. You know, this sounds good, but is it just another study? We think we have enough studies. We need to have something that leads us to action. So Joe understands, and he agreed and appreciated John's comments. And he just keeps reiterating he feels that this is going to take it to the next level, that will give us more teeth in the plans that we have to move forward. And Carol brought it up at last meeting. We're going to have to start setting some money aside for things related to these studies, particularly, you know, the railroad corridor. So we're working on that with Diane, and I had a meeting with Jack Marin on Friday. We discussed it. Told him, you know, we're committed to this. So, and he said the money is still, the plan is still there for the engineering feasibility study that we were committed to right before COVID hit. And we do still have that money, Diane has assured me, in a project account, thanks to her mindset, planning ahead. So that's it for the connectivity plan. Again, that RFP, I think, is going out this week. Next on my report list here is Hang Around Victor Day. Just wanted to keep you all aware that we did receive an application on the 29th of April from the chamber for Hang Around Victor Day. I have had discussions a while back with Amy DePrima from the chamber and also Kathy Rayburn from the local development. And they both comprise, as we know now, the Office of Community Development. So they want to have the event, but they also understand the need for COVID preparations, unfortunately. So the last time I talked to Kathy, which was a week or so ago, that was their next priority, was to develop a COVID plan for Hang Around Victor Day. I have heard rumors that it's out there already on Facebook that the event is going to occur, and it's just appropriate for the village board to say we have not said it's okay to have that event yet in the village. We will wait and see what the plan is. We'll wait and see, you know, where we're headed here with the COVID situation. But as the deputy mayor said, it's likely that we may be able to say yes, but we haven't done so yet. So that decision will be coming up, and I believe we will be inviting Kathy and Amy to the May 17th board meeting so they can present to us. Now, on a positive note, in my office, I found this note from Tom and Michelle Driscoll, who live at, is it 105 School Street where they live, Dan? Yeah. Says, Dear Gary, as you know, Michelle and I have lived here in the village for 43 years. We love it here. One of the little things that we think is good for society is the large trash pickup, conducted twice a year. Last weekend, our neighbors and us put out more stuff than we have ever seen. And on Saturday and Sunday, folks came and picked over what they can use for themselves, such as our grill. It went in less than 30 minutes. Anyways, this type of recycling is good for the poor, those who can't afford special items, and the quality of life for all of us. Thank you and the village board for being creative in supporting those in need. I'm proud of our village efforts and initiatives to balance injustice. Sincerely, Tom Driscoll. Very nice note from the Driscolls on School Street. Appreciate the compliment. And the compliment really has to go to John Turner and the DPW crew for the tremendous amount of work that goes into large trash pickup. I'm sorry JT's not here, and hopefully he's listening. But I will definitely show him this note. They do a great job for us, for all of us in the village. Next for me is we're going to continue our discussion on the cannabis legislation. Before we do that, I'd like to ask Reed if there's any other business, Reed, that you want to discuss other than to sit in on that with us.
No, I don't think so. I'm good. Just a comment, since I'm sitting on the outside listening. The feedback was much better. I didn't get much feedback today. The sound quality varied a lot depending on who was speaking. I really had a hard time understanding some of what was being said by some of the board members. But a lot less feedback, and maybe that's progress.
Thanks, Reed, for that vote of confidence. We're going to get there. He's still talking.
Yeah, that's so far behind.
Yeah. Okay, so last board meeting, we had our initial discussion about the newly passed legislation by New York State that legalizes the production, the growth, the production, the sale, and the use of cannabis in New York State. And since then, I have had a meeting with some individuals who have a plan. I think the deputy mayor has met with these individuals as well for a dispensary for the sale here in the village. And they realize that it is not a done deal at this point. So they are going to be coming to our board meeting on the 17th of May as well, to educate the rest of the board on their plan. And in the meantime, we just need to continue to discuss and receive feedback from the community. I've had discussions with officials, administrators, and teachers at Victor Central School. I've had some discussions just with residents in the village, and today with a particular business owner who said he would represent some other business owners that agreed with his opinion, and he was not in favor of a dispensary for sale of cannabis in the village. As you remember, last board meeting, I presented the literature, if you will, on opting out of sale of cannabis in the village. We do have that authority under this new legalized state law to do that. In order to accomplish that, we would have to pass a local law before the end of the year, before December 31st. And that law would be subject to a permissive referendum, which for the public's benefit means that if we decided to opt out, you would have, as a public, 30 days from that day that we decided to opt out to present a petition to the board, either for your approval or opposition, usually is more what it would be for us to take into consideration. And you could actually, with a permissive referendum, you could actually force the issue to go to a full voter referendum. That's what a permissive referendum it provides that opportunity. We use permissive referendums whenever we take money out of reserves or try to take money out of reserves. There's always a permissive referendum tied to it. So this is another time when there's a permissive referendum involved in this. So having said all that, I realize that I don't want to make it sound like we've already made a decision to opt out, because we haven't. Nor have we made the decision to say yes. But we are in the process of discussing, so we will accept comments and feedback from anybody who wants to offer it. It's a pretty important issue, and we understand there's going to be mixed feelings and emotions about it. So for tonight, I don't know if anybody on the board wants to make any comments. Yes, thanks, Pam. The New York Conference of Mayors, we've received some information from them. And amongst that information is this opt-out legislation, and also a link to a webinar that NICOM did on the topic of the legalization of marijuana. So I think it would be good for all of us to click on that link and watch that webinar. Try to do some good information in there. I know I plan to do it. It's fairly lengthy, but yeah, Pam will send that out.
Thank you.
And as Mike pointed out to us last meeting, we can't just sit on this. We need to move, because whichever way we go with it, we need to move forward fairly quickly, because time flies by, and with 2 meetings a month, before you know it, December would be here, and we need to make this decision long before then. For example, if we were to opt out, go through a permissive referendum, who knows if we end up with a referendum, and referendums take like 60 to 90 days to organize and put up. And there's just a lot of time obstacles to deal with in this situation. So again, if anybody in the public has comments, they can certainly send them in writing. They can let us know through email. That's probably maybe one of the easiest ways. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about the topic. I just ask that you do it through Pam and Roseanne and Diane at Village Hall, and they will contact me. So anybody on the board want to make any comments on the situation? I don't know if you've had time to do any more thinking, talking, or researching. Well, I'm just going to give you my my research so far, if you will, and that's in talking with a pretty good cross-section of people. And I'll start with the school district. The individuals I've talked to, as you might assume, aren't too thrilled with the idea that we would have sale of it in the village. So that's one perspective. And with everybody I've talked about both sides of the coin. And the other side of the coin of opting out is to say we would allow it, because we would have the ability through this law that the state has passed to put some restrictions on where, how, when it can be sold. It's not just an open, do anything you want to do with the sale of marijuana. We have some ability to control some of these factors. And it's been pointed out to me on several occasions that if we voted no, what if the communities around us vote yes? I mean, they wouldn't have to vote. They would just not opt out. And if that were the case, then, okay, we don't have the sale here, but neighboring communities do. and people just drive to neighboring communities and buy what they want and bring it back here. And in the meantime, other communities get the benefit of sales tax money that we would not get. So there is a lot to think about on both sides of this issue. And I know also that, you know, you can look at it from a moral and ethical standpoint, and your opinion can go either way on it. But I will admit and agree that it's already been legalized, and we cannot stop the use of it in terms of saying, no, you can't smoke or use marijuana in the Village of Victor. That's not part of our purview. We may be able to restrict where a little bit, as long as it's not unreasonable, but we're not going to be able to say no to the use of the drug because it's been legalized across the state. So that's my research for the time being. And I will say the business owner that I talked to says that he has other business owners who are against the sale of it. And, you know, what kind of clientele are going to be in the village purchasing, concerns like that. So,
So I don't know the right answer because we're such a small community, but I think one of my concerns, Gary, is, you know, like, I mean, we've worked together for a long time, so it's common knowledge that you are not a big social media thing. But I think we're falling into that trap during this conversation. And what I mean by that is, you say, you know, you talk to people at school, and then you say you talk to this business owner, who I talk to the business owner too, and he represents others. But so it sounds big, but until you come here or until you contact us and put your name on something, we have nothing. Do you know what I'm saying?
it's just a discussion.
It's a discussion based without any statistical analysis or fact. So again, I told, you know, like you said, I've met with the people, you've met with the people, they're coming to meet with us. And I made it crystal clear to them, if somebody had wanted my political opinion as a legislator, I would have voted no. Okay. As you've said, that train has passed. You know, the bell's been rung, it's not going to be unrung. So if you think about Hang Around Victor Day, just because we talked about it, you can have people smoking marijuana walking on the streets of Victor on Hang Around Victor Day. That's the way it works now. Again, you know, not my call. So, you know, I don't want it to sound adversarial, but when you said the school was against it, the school certainly doesn't have any problem taking the state tax dollars, including mine. So, you know, it becomes capitalistic. And I'll give you an example. Like, imagine if every worker for the city of Rochester lived in the city of Rochester. How much better their tax base would be instead of paying police officers and firemen, you know, $100,000 a year, $80,000 a year, and they come out here and spend their money. So, you know, the budgets aren't going to get any smaller. Healthcare is not going to go away at 19% of the GNP. COVID's not going away in the next decade, and the costs associated around COVID for local government or local businesses. So again, I'm not a user. I'm not in favor of using it, but I am in favor of maximizing the dollar profit for the Village of Victor. And if we can regulate it, as you said, you know, which we can in the law, you know, I mean, I don't want to fall into the same trap that I was just begrudging, but I also don't want to mention, you know, people I've talked to without their permission. But, you know, one of the people I talked to said, well, you know, if you have the right location and you kept it off Main Street, that might work. And like today, I was talking to some of the salespeople at work about it in general, and like what they didn't know, that the people in this room might not know, just based on like, if you never served on actually served on a planning board or zoning board, okay, every district, every municipality in New York City has to provide a zone for like an adult bookstore. Like we're not allowed to not have one. It goes against the state constitution. So, but people don't realize that because nobody opened one here because they know they wouldn't get enough business to be profitable. And if you can think about the uproar that happened when the vape store opened, and today it's like the empty set. Like you don't hear anybody. I have not taken a complaint in the vape store in the last 5 years. So again, now do I go in there? No. You know, do I assume he can pay his bills? I assume he can, but I know somebody's paying taxes on that building, and I know somebody's paying sales tax on what's ever sold there. So it's tough for me. I mean, I don't like a lot of the things New York is doing. You know, not having nothing to do with the legalization of marijuana, but you know,
No,
I find it hard to believe, and you hit the nail on the head here. If we say no, and the town says no, but Parrington or Farmington or Mendon or Honeywell Falls says yes, our residents are going to go there. Our residents who want to use it are going to go there and buy it, and all we lose is the tax revenue. Like we're not going to stop anybody from legally smoking marijuana who wants to legally smoke marijuana. You know? And it's very stringent as far as like, you know, the age requirement. You know, it's 21 and over. It's again, it doesn't make no sense to me as a consumer, but as a person who works on the budget, it makes a lot of sense.
well, I totally understand. There's an economic side of this issue, and there's a moral and ethical side of this issue. And neither one, you know, well, the economic piece is a little easier to understand than the moral piece to me. But anyways, I want to qualify my remarks since you brought up the school district. I'm not suggesting that Victor Central School District has come out and made a statement saying, no, I'm not suggesting that. I simply said that I have discussed with some officials and
Well, sure, it's your
people
workplace.
at
Right.
at the school district. And so far, the discussions have been on the negative side. And actually, these individuals that are going to come to our board meeting, I'm going to set up a meeting for them with the school district. So, and I actually had, this is a perspective I want to share from one of the individuals at the school district who is an administrator, shared with me his perspective. And it was, you know, nobody is looking forward to seeing everybody walking around high, which would be the extreme. However, it's been legalized. So rather than try and criminalize again, why not take the tax revenue and use that money to educate young people, especially, about the dangers of the abuse of it? And I believe that in the state regulation, there's language that says they are going to use a certain percentage. I don't know, it's 40% of the tax revenue that the state gets. They get a 9-cent excise tax is going to go towards education along these lines. I thought that was a really forward-thinking perspective by one of the individuals I talked to at school. But I think when I met with these gentlemen that are going to come and present to us, I said, do you think there's anyone else we should talk to in the community about this? We've talked to, you know, the supervisor, we've talked to you. I said, yes, you should talk to the school district. And they both looked at me and said, but this is, you know, for 21 and over. I said, I realize that, but don't think it's not going to impact Victor Central School. So and I'm thinking of definitely from an educational standpoint, this will be a big topic that teachers will be wrestling with up there. And so that, to me, there's all kinds of ways to look at this. You can simplify it and just say it's an economic issue, but I think there's more to it than that. And that's why I'm looking forward to getting input from various walks of life, if you will, to help myself make my decision. And trying to remind everybody as well, I'm one member of the board. I don't make the decision. We make it as a board. So I appreciate anybody's perspective. I respect that. Anybody else got the comments? Thoughts? How about Reed? Anything, Reed, that you would like to say? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I did.
Oh, I don't mind giving you my, yeah, you did. That's okay. I don't mind talking about it a little bit, but let me qualify it by saying it really is not a legal issue. It's a political issue at this point. And I'm happy to help navigate the legal side of it in terms of exact. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm happy to talk more about the legal side of it. I'm getting an echo. Are you guys okay hearing me? Okay. Well, let me keep talking. Okay. I'm happy to address the legal side of the issue. It really is a political issue. Here's my take on my personal opinion on it for what it's worth. So take it for what it's worth, not a legal opinion. Yeah, I'm concerned about it. I would not be in favor of the law. My concern is that there are an awful lot of people who use it whose lives are worse because of it. And we all know that. You see people who fail to reach their full potential because of their use. You see people who fail to complete school or reach as high a level educationally because of it. They lose jobs because of it. It affects their relationships. Is that the majority of the people who use it? Probably not. Probably not by a long shot, but there is a lot of damage that comes as a result of it. So what do we do based upon that? Okay, it's legal, so do we just open a dispensary or allow a dispensary to be opened here in the village? Well, the biggest problem that I have with saying yes to that is that the village is a pretty small geographic area. So saying we don't want it to be in certain places in the village means if it's in the village, it's going to be near a whole lot of residents. And it's going to be near a relatively, public area. It just is. It would be a different story if we had a larger geographic municipality. Most towns do have places that you can allow certain things that you don't want in the central areas. But our central area is the whole village for all intents and purposes, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, if we say no, you forego the tax revenue, and I get that may be the beginning and the end of the discussion. On the other hand, as far as I'm concerned, I think there is the issue of saying yes and essentially endorsing. And I do think it's a bit of an endorsement when you say, we can allow a dispensary here. And the second issue, as far as I'm concerned, and saying yes, and allowing it to happen, not passing legislation prohibiting it, is that I'm not sure that any of us can predict how much more use there would be in the village. But if you can get it by walking down the street, if you have a facility that advertises it, and that offers it for sale, and whose business is to profit from it, so they're going to try to sell as much of it as they possibly can. There is going to be more use in the village with a dispensary here than there would be without one. So those are all political issues. I mean, that's just how I look at it. And you guys are the ones who get to make the tough decisions. But I'm happy to help navigate through this.
Reed, thank you very much for the comments. And I will reiterate that those are your personal comments, not as a legal advisor, and I appreciate that. Respect your personal opinions as much as I do your legal opinions. Anybody else have anything else they want to add tonight? Pam, anything, did I leave out anything?